All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to talk about the effects of a certain company on another company. And of course, we're talking about the sweet baby effect, right? This is an effect that we are starting to notice for a lot of different video games that they were involved in previously, that they are now still involved in, and the effects of the sequels and whatnot, and how everything tends to follow suit. God of War Ragnarok came out on PC pretty recently, and the peak player count is less than half of the original God of War. Less than half, ladies and gentlemen. And that is such a massive, massive difference that we have to talk about it.
The message.
So we have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, "The Sweet Baby Effect. God of War Ragnarok peak player count is less than half of God of War, the original game." Now, I remember how excited people were for the original God of War game to come out on PC. I myself bought it on PC. I have it on my Steam account, and I will not be buying the second one, just simply because I don't want to, right? And I know that a lot of people are like, "Oh, Sweet Baby didn't do anything in that game." It's like, no, Sweet Baby did do some things in that game, and at the end of the day, I am trying to boycott as many games that Sweet Baby Inc. is involved in, right? You guys obviously know I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and aside from the Tifa censorship, I didn't really see anything that pointed to Sweet Baby Inc. ultimately, so I feel like that was one of those games they really didn't have much of a say on. However, the black female that they race swapped in God of War Ragnarok was an obvious move that was made by Sweet Baby Inc., and there was other things in God of War Ragnarok that looks like it was pointing towards Sweet Baby Inc. as well from the video clips and trailers that I saw. So again, guys, let's get into this article from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Don't get me wrong, God of War is an awesome game. I'm sure the second one is awesome too. I'm sure a lot of people love God of War Ragnarok. I remember when it came out on PS5, I think it did fairly well. It did not sell as good as the initial game, but I think it did fairly well. But the numbers on Steam are extremely telling. It says the peak concurrent player counts for Santa Monica Studios' God of War Ragnarok are less than half of the studio's previous installment for God of War. As reported by SteamDB, God of War Ragnarok hit a peak concurrent player count of 31,606 earlier today, just a few days after it became available to purchase on Steam. This is over 57% less than the previous installment in the franchise, God of War, which had a peak concurrent player count of 73,529 when it released to Steam back in January of 2022. Now, guys, these numbers are huge, okay? They're not like Space Marine 2 numbers, and they damn sure aren't Black Myth Wukong numbers, but they're more than enough players in order to bolster sales in a positive way for Santa Monica Studios, right? Because 73,000 players on PC, and imagine all of the PlayStation players that they had playing the game. Sure, they made a lot of money, and God of War Ragnarok also made money. There's no doubt about it. Even at the 31,000 players, even though it's less than half of what it is on PC, showing that people are not as interested in this one as they were the first one for a multitude of reasons, and Sweet Baby Inc. is obviously one of them. It still shows that this game is still a strong name. It can pull sales, right? As long as they lower their budget and try to be a little bit cheaper in the product, they can still maintain themselves with sales like this and on PlayStation combined. It says, interestingly, both games have the exact same Metascore of 94 from critics on Metacritic. However, the user score is a full point lower for God of War Ragnarok. It sits at 8.1, while God of War, the first game, is at a 9.1. Despite the scores being similar, the lack of players for God of War indicates players are not purchasing the game. One of the reasons could be that the video game consultancy Sweet Baby Inc., led by Kim Belair, worked on God of War Ragnarok. Given this fact, the game was added to Kabruta's Rambo Sweet Baby Inc. Detected Steam curator list, which has over 436,000 followers at the time of this article. You know, at the beginning of Gamergate 2, they tried to say that this particular group, Sweet Baby Inc. Detected, was a small fringe group of gamers, and it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't amount to anything, and nobody cares. That's what the mainstream media was trying to tell you. I'm going to tell you right now, that's complete and utter bullshit, because it's very clear that this group has an effect on sales. This is 400 and almost 40,000 people who are going to be informed about whether or not a video game has worked with Sweet Baby Inc. or not. And that is a tall tale. Like, I'm telling you right now, that is an easy way for you to lose a fuck ton of money by being added to this list. I promise you, this list is a lot more powerful than people even give it credit for. Another reason for the lack of players could be the fact that PlayStation Studios, the game's publisher, is charging full price for the game despite it being originally released as an exclusive on PlayStation back in 2022. Furthermore, the game requires Steam players to link their account to a PlayStation Network account. I think this is a more telling issue right here. I think the fact that they are requiring the PSN linking, to PSN, one of the most hacked fucking services on the face of the internet. I think this is more of an issue for a lot of people, and this is why a lot of people are not buying the game, on top of the fact that SPI worked on this game as well, and people know about it, right? Once you start adding all these things together, you're going to start losing more and more and more people until eventually you get to this point where you have less than half of the original game, which they can't be happy with, right? They just can't be. You can't be happy with half of the sales that you had with your first game, because what's going to happen when you release the third game, right? You're probably going to be half of that, and then before you know it, people end up checking out completely. And this is what I was saying in my Dragon Age video, where I was saying that Dragon Age the Veilguard is absolutely going to have good sales, right? Because you have people who are holding out hope. They're holding out hope as Dragon Age fans that this Dragon Age Veilguard doesn't look as bad as the trailers look, doesn't look as bad as the screenshots look. We're holding out. We're holding on. And as they hold on, they're going to realize that they held on for no reason. And then people start leaving and they start just exiling the game. And before you know it, Dragon Age, the franchise, that used to be a big hit, especially on PC, and sell millions of units, that's not going to be the case anymore, right? Dragon Age Dragon Age already doesn't have the name that it used to have anymore, because BioWare doesn't have the name that they used to have anymore. BioWare as a studio is not a very liked studio these days, right? Because you have the failure of Anthem that people still remember, which was a massive failure. And then you also have the not so liked Mass Effect Andromeda, right? From people who like the original Mass Effect series, even though a lot of people don't like the ending of 3 because it was controversial, they still love the series as a whole. And that was a lot of gamers' Star Wars, right? That was gamers' Star Wars when we were growing up, because that was such an awesome, epic experience that it's hard to mimic these days. And the cinematic storytelling was just wild in those games. But still, Mass Effect Andromeda didn't deliver on that. And then Mass Effect Andromeda was super buggy, glitchy. People were spreading screenshots and whatnot. So BioWare as a whole, the studio, is not very loved right now. And if this game misses Dragon Age Veilguard, it's going to be a death note for BioWare if they're not already dead as it is. But in terms of God of War, same thing, right? If they come out with a third one, I think that's going to be a lot more telling over where people's heads are at when it comes to video games like this that are involved with SPI, that a lot of people are just trying to avoid. This PlayStation Network account requirement saw many players leave negative reviews. The reviews for the game on Steam are currently mixed, with Steam reporting that 67% of the almost 2,900 user reviews for this game are positive. SteamDB reports that the game received 484 negative reviews on September 19th, 765 negative on the 20th, and 256 so far on the 21st, for a total of 1,505 negative reviews. But there are still more positive reviews, with a total of 1,505. So again, guys, it's kind of in the middle right now with this game. But the fact that a God of War game is mixed, that's a problem, right? God of War was so loved that you would be hard-pressed to find a negative review for God of War. And I'm talking about the originals, too. The originals were so loved. You'd be really hard to find a negative review for those. But as we go on and we continue with this, man, people are just speaking out against this stuff, and you're realizing that these negative reviews are starting to happen more and more and more. And when they race swapped this character, that was just another sign that, hey, oh, look, SBI is clearly involved. The game was scrutinized back by gamers in 2022 after the game race swapped the Juton, I can't say this name, Angerboda, whatever. Anyway, you see the character here on the screen. So again, guys, Sweet Baby Inc.'s going to pretend like they never do anything. They're going to pretend like this was not their decision. They're going to pretend like they get hired to do nothing, guys. They're innocent. They're just Sweet Baby Inc. It's impossible. Look at the name. They're just sweet little babies. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.